First off, there was quite a bit of time between your last album and the new one, Jelly Cream. What was going on in the interim there?
Well, first of all, I was on Geffen for years. I think I signed with Geffen in 1989, and I was on that with that company till about 96. So I was pretty much just showcasing and writing songs for a new record and trying to find a record deal, and that's when I was approached by RCA and Bruce Floor at RCA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was basically just finding out somebody to put out my record.
Was departing from Geffen an amicable move? Or?
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, none of that really matters now because nobody that worked at Geffen works at Geffen anymore. So, pretty much. I mean, I'm friends with some of the people. Like Gary Gersh is the one that signed me at Geffen, and he moved on and has done a lot of things since. So. And then Tony Berg was the only other person there that I really dealt with that much, and I get along with him. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's good. When you did your first album, there seemed to be like a conscious effort to move away from the sound that you created with the band Archangel. What was the intention when you went in to make Jelly Cream?
My intention was to make, I guess if you had to put a tag on it, would be roots rock. Mainly just a rock record. I wanted to make a rock record that had different sides, because the first record that I made, my solo record, I was exploring more of the soul aspects of music, and I mean, my influences that, I mean, are still the same, but I was really experimenting with, Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway, Al Green, Sly Stone. With a mix of the Beatles, or with Albert King playing over that music or whatever.
Do you think you accomplished what you set out to do with this album?
Yeah, I did. I'm in a different place at the moment, just because, I mean, it seems like every artist seems to evolve. So I think I'm in a different place than when I made that record, and that was. I can't remember. It was
a while ago.
Yeah, I made that record like a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I've evolved since then.
Where is your mindset now in terms of music?
Well, I just think I'm more confident as an overall band leader, musician, songwriter, and I think I was still a little unsure in the songwriting for Jelly Cream. Not with, I mean, just on a couple of songs. But I think now I know exactly what I want to do, so I'm really sure about what I want to do now.
What do you think? What is it that gives you that stronger confidence and that gives you the more focus?
For me, it's just doing it more, because I stepped out of the music scene for a long time. After the Archangels broke up, I spent 92 that's when we broke up. From 92 until 95, the beginning of 95, I didn't play music. I was out of the music business. I didn't do anything. So I had to relearn how to go out there and do it.
That's funny. We'll keep going.
I had to relearn how to do this, and it's always a learning experience. And I think during the years that I quit playing music, I really isolated myself so many different ways. So I think to try and come out of my shell a little bit was a tough thing for me. And I think even when I was making Jelly Cream, I hadn't completely come out. So I think with my next record, it's going to be a pretty focused.
What was it back then that made you withdraw from the industry, though? From recording music?
Well, I acquired a lot of bad habits, and that was one of the reasons that the Archangels broke up, is that I got into drugs and alcohol, and that's all I wanted to do, and I did that for 3.5, 4 years, and I didn't want to do anything else than that. But then, as I started to come out of that a little bit, and then the music started flowing out of me again.
How did you come out of that stumbling block?
As far as music goes, or
well,
just
in general, your life and your music? I mean, it's all ties together. How did you break the chains of the
well, that's like, it has so many different variables that happened, but it would take me 2 hours to explain that. Pretty much, a lot of bad things happened,
right,
and I was forced to stop. And at the time, I needed any excuse I could to get out of it, because I had been through 13 different treatment centers in 3 years, and none of them stuck at all with me. So I was just looking for the opportunity, and something happened to me that I just had to stop. It was either that or like do time,
right.
And I would much rather play guitar and
it's a little more fun,
hang out than go to prison.
Well, speaking of playing guitar, there's so many articles that I read that place you as the heir to the Stevie Ray Vaughan throne, and everybody draws this comparison to your playing. Does having that idea out there put undue pressures on you?
No, it used to. It really bothered me at first because Stevie was such an amazing guy, personally and musically, that it's like trying to find somebody to fill the shoes of Jimi Hendrix. It will never be done. There will always be people that are trying to do that, but there will never be a Jimi Hendrix, and there will never be a Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I think it's pointless, because he was so talented at what he did that it's, you know, even if you tried to copy him or do what he did, you're not going to do it as good.
Right.
So why not just have your own thing? You know, why don't you just... So I think that Stevie, I think it was just sort of obvious for people to say, well, because I grew up with Jimmy and Stevie, that I was going to be the next Stevie Ray Vaughan. But I think instead of saying that, they should have said he's going to be the next guy in general, you know?
Right. Well, it seems you've moved beyond that, though. Now it doesn't bother you anymore.
No, I can do it. I used to get sort of mad about it just because I was friends with Stevie,
sure.
And but now, I mean, I deal with it, and I'm fine with that. That people would say that.
Right. In that same vein, so many people associate you with the Texas blues sound, and I read an article recently where you said, and I've never been good at writing blues songs. I always want my songs to come out a little more pop sounding. Is it frustrating to have those kinds of labels put on you?
Blues labels?
That you're the Texas blues guitar
Well, no,
man.
because I grew up playing blues. I grew up listening to blues. That's what I mean, that's all I did, all I listened to, all I played for years. So I mean, I am known as just a blues guy. But the problem is I can't. From the first song that I ever wrote, I wrote a pop song.
Right.
And that's just, I can't really help it. That's just what I did. But I can cover blues songs, and I can do them really well. And I can try to write a blues song, but it just seems like I just write really generic, lame blues songs, as opposed to, even though on Jelly Cream I have a song called Chariot that's sort of it's sort of a song like a Lightning Hopkins or like Jimi Hendrix kind of blues song or something. And if it's a blues song that has changes that go somewhere melodically for me, then I can write over that. Right. But if it doesn't, if it's just sort of just a 1-4-5 blues song, it's hard for me because I have such a pop sensibility in my melodies.
Well, how conscious are you of a song's commercial potential when you're writing it?
I can't really think about that all that much. At this point, I used to have that. Oh, I always had that in mind when I was writing, and that's just like I'm never going to be a Nashville like staff writer.
Right.
So, what's the point? I mean, if you're not that or writing hit songs for Frank Sinatra, then there's really no point to it because you don't really know. And if you just try and do stuff that you think other people will like, and just do music for other people and not yourself, then you can't tell what people are going to like. Right. So I think at this point I just have to do what I do, and maybe people dig it and maybe they won't, but at least I've been true to myself.
Right. That's good. That's the most important thing, definitely. Now, I guess recently we also heard you play on Michelle and Dago Cello's album. How did that relationship come about?
A lot of my good relationships came from my my wife and her sister Wendy from Wendy and Lisa.
Right, right.
And Wendy's hooked me up. She hooked me up with Chad Blake, hooked me up with Michelle Deggiocello, and so it was sort of cool because we had when I went out for my tour, we opened up for Michelle for about 3 weeks for my first record, and the band was Wendy and Lisa, Susanna, Abe Laborio Jr. on drums, and myself and Billy Cassis, and we went out and opened up for it, and she really dug it, and it was a great show, and so she sort of wanted to use that band for this record, and so it was Abe Laborio on her record, Chris Bruce, who was my writing partner, and Lisa and Wendy. So it was a cool experience, but we became friends, and I got together with her to write some songs.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. Have you played South by Southwest before?
Yeah, I haven't played that much. I've played once as a solo artist in, I think, '89 I played, and then I played 1 year with the Archangels, and then it wasn't until like 2 years ago that I played here. I've played here about 4 times.
Is the experience different playing in front of these audiences that are mostly industry people and press people as opposed to fans that come to see the show?
Yeah, it's a little different because usually if you get the people from record companies or in the record industry out to gigs in their hometown, they don't really come out as much and give it up for you.
Right.
But if they're out of town and they're partying and they're going out just to see that band, it feels more like just the average, your own fans.
Sure.
You get that kind of energy. But it's different because it's a mix. So I think half fans, half people that are interested that work in the record industry. So it's pretty cool. It's a good place to see bands.
Definitely, that's for sure. What do you think is the most offensive thing about pop music today?
Offensive?
Offensive, yeah.
Offensive about pop music is that a lot of pop artists don't write their own songs anymore. And so all these awards that you see getting handed out every year at these shows are given to the writers and not even given to the artists that are doing the songs. And I think, like, what happened to people that, like Neil Young or Patti Smith, I saw her last night, that, wrote, performed, and were their own entity. Everything about them was just the cool thing.
Do you think the trends will change and shift back to a time when the singer-songwriter is more prevalent?
I don't know. I don't know if this is like, if a lot of the pop artists now are like the Leif Garrett of the 70s. I don't know if it was the same then and if it just seems to be worse now.
Right. So what's next after South by Southwest for you?
After South by Southwest, I'm off for 2 months.
Just vacation.
Yeah, I'm doing everything packed into 3 days, and then I rest for 2 months.
Good.
And then I'm going out with Roger Waters for 2 months, and we're going to do a tour of a little bit of the South, Florida, West Coast, and I think Madison Square Garden is where we end.
Wow, very good.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Yeah. What about getting back into the studio for you?
It depends on. I'm going to release another single in about a month, and then get ready to go out with Roger, see how that does. If it does well, then we'll probably release another single from this record and keep working this and go on the road with my band. If it doesn't do anything, then I'll probably go back and record in August for my next record.
Very good.